Seven, six, five, four, three, two, one.
You'll never have the sacred stone.
All right, and welcome back to another edition of the Vegas Squares podcast. It is our Week 12 picks in the NFL, and I got Spike and Token Tony with me here. And I know Spike will not like to admit it, but the contest is getting a little tighter.
At the bottom, it's getting a little tighter. Unfortunately, I have lost grip on the top seed, ceding it only to our dear friend Token Tony, which in this true spirit of 2020 being a really weird fucking year, Token Tony is beating the hell out of all of us in the NFL picks this year. So that should tell you everything you need to know about 2020 if you've been living under a rock.
Maybe
it's gone down the shitter.
Maybe our new hashtag should be "tail the fuck out of Token" at this point. But we are back. We did not have a midweek podcast this week because golf was not a thing this week. But we are back. We are Token, Tony, Spike, but we do not have Tony Johnson this week. But Spike, we do have his picks, correct?
We do. Yeah, he got them to me. He was actually the first to submit them this year, or this year. Fucking what the hell? This week.
17 weeks in one day.
Yeah, he got me everything already, and I know that there was a little bit of concern / question about the Pittsburgh and Baltimore game, and fortunately none of us are on that, and with our contest rules saying only Sunday and Monday games being applicable, that game being moved to Tuesday has moved it off of our radar, at least for the purpose of this contest.
That is correct. It might get moved so far back with the whole COVID thing that it might be available like for a Week 18 pick. I've heard that there's a chance that they may, if they have to play that it may be the Pittsburgh Steelers are pissed. At least the players are, because there's a chance that Pittsburgh could get the number 1 seed and actually not have a bye week because they have to play that game for purposes of seeding.
Which doesn't make sense to me. I mean, the NFL kind of tried to cutthroat all the rules and all that. And if a team can prepare without certain players and all that, or certain facilities, then the game should be on even with backups and all that.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, it's, at some point when Tennessee had their whole big kerfuffle with the Steelers, Steelers are getting fucked in the ass, and they're not even the ones having the COVID issue. So I think that's it's honestly a tip of the cap, to quote Token Tony here, a tip of the cap to the Steelers that they've gone through as much adversity as teams with COVID, and they're still undefeated on the season. So at this point, I agree with you. I mean, I've seen situations. The NFL just can't get a common situation. Like, they always have to have a different resolution to the same situation, it seems, whether it's punishments or COVID. I understand this is an unprecedented time, but they basically came out about 6 weeks ago and said, hey, you're going to start getting punished for having these issues. And the lie detector determined that was a lie. So it's just quite unfortunate that the NFL can't get their shit together when, if you want to lay the hammer down and convince these teams to kind of have to bubble up, then fine. But then when, you quote unquote lay the hammer down and then you're like, well, I get it. It's a great matchup. It was supposed to be a great Thanksgiving matchup, but at some point you got to play like you said, you got to play the game. I know this Week 18 bullshit. I think that's the most absurd resolution to this. So we'll see what happens with Tuesday. Because what if Lamar Jackson can't play Tuesday? Like you said, I mean, if they're really pushing, you got to admit they're only pushing this back because of Lamar Jackson. No other reason. They play this game. I wonder if even Ben Roethlisberger was out, they'd play this game.
It might be. It might not be. I mean, it's just. It should be played, or the team with the more COVID issues, or if both, then they forfeit. I mean, if they don't play it in a certain week. I know it's a cutthroat rule, but the NFL should keep it consistent.
Well, and let's remember, too, that no matter what Roger Goodell does, it will be wrong. He does not have the ability to make a correct decision if his life depended on it. So It's
Well,
just
that's
one of those
because-
things that we have to just kind of pay attention to. That whatever solutions are out there, Roger Goodell will pick the wrong one, and it'll screw up the league, and somebody's going to be upset about it. It's just the way he works.
Well, the crazy thing is they decided not to go with a bubble this year, which, okay, all right, that's fine. You saw how well it worked with baseball. Every other league that bubbled actually did well, all things considered. And I understand there's a lot of logistics with football and money tied into it and everything. And okay, I understand. And then you came out with, the hard-nosed stance. And then you were like, nah, we're good. So it's not even picking the wrong decision. I thought he actually picked the right decision and then just backed the fuck off of it because, one of the NFL's moneymakers, Lamar Jackson, wasn't able to play this game. And I understand there might not be that big of a drop-off between Lamar Jackson and Robert Griffin III. So, to be fair, the way Lamar Jackson's played this year. So, I don't know. How were your all Thanksgivings? What did you guys get into?
Mine was pretty good. We went hiking and celebrated on Wednesday, but then went over to friends yesterday for kind of like potluck Thanksgiving.
I'm assuming you did not watch the Lions game.
I did.
Oh, jeez.
It's a normal Thanksgiving tradition, and I'm used to the same result of us getting our asses handed to us. And
yeah, that's fair. 2020 had a sense of normalcy with the Detroit Lions getting boat raced in the Thanksgiving game.
Yep.
Yeah, that's fair. Spike, you and the wife enjoy your Thanksgiving?
Yeah, it was just the two of us, and we decided not to cook. So we did a traditional Thanksgiving feast of Peking duck and scallion pancakes and some other Chinese food. And it was actually quite delicious.
I grew up and probably like that.
Pretty happy with the way that went.
Like, what was that movie, Christmas Story, when they had to they burnt the turkey?
Smiling.
Rah, 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 rah.
That's like Christine.
Well, again, we got week 12 in the NFL. We've got picks. We got 20 picks here this week for you. Hopefully you tail them, make some money, and if you fade them, well, let's hope you don't, because that means we're going to be right. Hopefully Spike can have another terrible week. So without further ado, Spike, you're going to update us on the standing.
Number one.
Yeah, that is 11.
Yeah. So last week was atrocious. I actually have this week's picks up. Let me get last week here. Last week, 3 players went 3-2. 1 player went 1-4. And, as much as I hate to be the standalone person here, I was the 1-4 player of the week. So congrats to the rest of you for going 3-2 and all of you having winning weeks. That did not make me too happy. So the standings as of right now, Aaron is still bringing up the rear with 21 points in, 55 games played. In third place, is Tony Johnson with 24 points. I am in second place with 28 points, leading the pack by a full 3 points. Token Tony with 31 as of right now.
Token, it pains him to not gloat at this point, right?
It really does. First of all, yes, it pains me that I can't gloat given how I did last year, winning both contests that we had with the picks like this. Not the MGM contest. I punted that right at the beginning. But with these picks, winning that last year, not being able to gloat this year is problematic. What bothers me more is that it's Token. Like, if it's Aaron or Tony Johnson, like, fine, whatever. I'm losing to people that are actually good and that we haven't put a hashtag fade the fuck out of Token. Like, if that happens, that's fine. It's just with Token, I mean, come the fuck on. What is happening this year?
Well, Spike, between you and I, Token will never admit this, but I feel like he's fading himself, and that's why he's so successful.
I actually have not yet.
I don't believe you. I don't buy it. You wouldn't admit it if you had to, but I don't buy it.
No, I would admit it if I had to. Well, I lost some weight, now I'm a new Token. I lost some weight, now I'm a new Token, so.
Okay, fair enough, yeah. All right. Well, again, we're going to dive into these Week 12 picks. We got a lot to talk about. There's some big games on the slate, a lot of games with big playoff implications. Again, we obviously have the Pittsburgh and Baltimore game that will not be available to pick, and we will not preview that because that's just a waste of time at this point, given the standings or given the fact that our contest is Sundays and Mondays. But I want to let you know that these lines are the Westgate Superbook at the time of recording. And before we dive in, I wanted to talk about two of our sponsors and the fact how you can help us help out our podcast here during the holiday season. We know you're going to be shopping for Christmas or whatever holiday you celebrate. And obviously, if you listen to this podcast, you and or some of the people in your family are sports fans. So please visit lvsquares.com, check out our sponsors page, and click the affiliate link to fanatics.com. When you click that link, it will take you to the Fanatics page. Everything on the page doesn't cost a penny more than it would have if you were going to the direct site. So please click our link. It helps us out. It gets we get a commission off of that. It helps pay for the podcast. So we greatly appreciate that. And if there's golfers in your life, please check out the Vice Golf affiliate link on there as well. I have ordered a few things off of there, so I know the commission affiliate link works. But they have a Black Friday sale going on, I believe, through the end of the weekend, so you can get some stuff discounted. And they have free golf ball personalization through December 8th when you use the promo code HAPPYXmas, all one word. So you can get personalized golf balls at a discounted price and then free personalization. So please check out those two links on the LV Squares sponsors page. Support us, support them, so they can continue to help us and get yourself some nice holiday gear for you and those sports fans in your life. All right, obviously the other sponsors, 12 Ounce Sports Network and Zingo TV, where they both host us and air us. We appreciate them. And then the other sponsors, Wicked Cuts Jerky, InTheWholeGolf.com, DC40 Custom Tees, Pro-Am Customs, and Chai Poker. They will all scroll on the bottom throughout the podcast. So without further ado, let's get into the Week 12 slate, starting here with the home team, Las Vegas, traveling to the ATL to face the Atlanta Falcons. They are a 3-point road favorite, a West Coast team going east for a 10 a.m. slot. The total in this one is 53. Now, the first thing that came to mind when I saw this game, I was a little shocked. I know that Las Vegas generally would be the favorite in this on a neutral site matchup, but the first thing that came to my mind is I feel like the Raiders kind of gave it their all in that Kansas City game, and Atlanta's kind of dangerous at home. Julio Jones, game time decision. I'm not sure how that'll affect anything, but the Atlanta Falcons coming off the bye week, they've been rolling, and I don't know. This is a scary one to me. I feel like the Vegas Raiders kind of, for lack of a better word, blew their load, everything they got against Kansas City, and they came up short. And they're sitting in a spot where this is kind of a must-win game for them. We'll talk about a lot of the playoff implications, especially in that AFC, but there's a lot of teams sitting around that 6-4, 7-3 that really can't afford to start losing games. I think this is the week where we start separating, and Las Vegas is kind of in that clump at 6-4 token.
Yeah, I mean, this one's interesting and all that, and wondering how much Las Vegas has left in their tank after kind of blowing their wad last week, trying to keep up with KC.
Well, they
Atlanta,
know the West is done for them at this point.
Yeah. Atlanta's got nothing to win or lose at this point except for draft positions, it seems like, and maybe for some roster spots moving forward, so.
I think they got a coach, an interim here in Raheem Morris, maybe coaching for a job at this point. I mean, they're 3-1 since Dan Quinn was fired, and they seem to be playing a little bit better ball.
Well, they certainly do. I mean, they definitely look better, and it's kind of a weird spot. I mean, we see kind of surges when teams fire coaches usually, but we don't see sustained success, especially in that first year, at least. Not in the NFL. We've seen it in other leagues with teams like in hockey. We have a couple of examples of teams firing a head coach mid-season and going on to either compete for or win the Stanley Cup. But I think what we're seeing in Atlanta right now is just a different look for the offense. Like they feel like a different team to me, and I feel like they're coming together a lot better under this leadership. And I don't know. I think they're playing well. I think they're that they're looking like a better team, especially in a division where I think a lot of people counted them out. It should be an interesting one. I actually have a play on this on the total, but obviously we're getting to that at the end. I think this is definitely going to be a fun, interesting game for that early slate of morning games.
Yeah, I think so too. I think we could have an action-packed, and again, with a total like 53, I mean, they're expecting some scoring out of these two teams. All right, moving forward to Arizona at New England. Currently, Arizona a 1.5-point favorite at the Westgate. Total 49 in this spot. At this point in time, he has been labeled a game time decision, but all signs point to Kyler Murray probably going in this game. He's got an issue with his AC joint on his throwing arm, so that's obviously going to be a concern. I mean, yes, he can run the ball, but it's he has to be able to do both if he expects Bill Belichick to have put any kind of wrinkles in Bill Belichick's mind at this point. New England coming off kind of a gross loss against Houston at the time. I think a lot of people were expecting big things after that win against the Ravens in the pouring down rain. And, kudos to Spike. He didn't put any stock into that and kind of looked at that game as a letdown game, and it certainly was. I mean, the Houston Texans were able to beat New England Patriots. Arizona sitting in another spot, 6-4. They're third place in the NFC West. Most likely going to be in a playoff spot, but I don't think they can really afford to throw too many games here. But going into New England is never easy, Toby.
Yeah, you're right about that. It seems like Arizona is more in a must-win spot than New England with their position within the division as well as the NFC. NFC, even though it's a little more wide open, in my opinion, but every game is almost critical at this point. And with Kyler Murray just kind of injured, you maybe want to get off to a strong lead and then just kind of coast from there. Maybe run the ball with who's the running back? Johnson, right?
Kenyon Drake is there running.
Kenyon Drake, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. They shipped Johnson over to Texas.
Mm-hmm. They did. Yeah, I think this is literally the spot. And Spike, I'll give you a chance to vent on this one. I think this is literally the spot you did not want to see the New England Patriots in. They're literally not putting themselves in a top 5 position, and they're most likely not competing for a playoff spot. They're literally competing for like the 14th pick at this point.
Yeah, I mean, this is absolutely what I didn't want. Mediocrity at its best. And not only that, but now I'm seeing headlines coming out of, like Pat's Pulpit and other New England Patriots fan letter, whatever you want to call it, that are saying that Cam Newton is a lock to be the starting quarterback next season as well, which is all the more infuriating. This team needed to pick which direction it was going to go. It either had to compete hard for a playoff spot or it had to tank. This middle ground bullshit, this mediocrity, middle of the road thing is just not what they needed. This is not how you build a winning team for the future. This is not how you compete for a title now. It's just the worst case scenario for this team. That Houston game, depending on which side you're on, is either a major letdown if you want them to win, or it was a welcome respite if you want them to lose. It's just an infuriating team to watch because they cannot pick an identity, and I don't know if that's Belichick can't get these guys to play that he wants them to, or if they're just outmatched, and that it simply could be that they are outmatched in these games. And against a strong Arizona team with a great secondary, is that something that we're going to see again? Is Cam Newton going to make those mistakes that cost him the game again? I don't know. It's going to be another good one to watch in that morning slate. The rest of them are stinkers, I think.
I will disagree with you, but we'll get to some of those. Let me ask you a question, Spike, as a Patriots fan.
Yeah.
All right, you're in the off season. If he can be had for the right price, would you accept Carson Wentz on the Patriots?
No.
Really?
No, I mean, if he's behind a decent offensive line, maybe you can get away with it. But right now, we're talking about a guy with 15 interceptions and 10 fumbles so far in the year, and that's just not a guy that somebody like Belichick can trust to run an offense. The Patriots offense is not – I mean, under Brady, it could survive a mistake or two, but under a guy like Carson Wentz, it's essentially making 2 per game. That's too much to overcome, especially in a division where both Miami and Buffalo are so well improved. You can't afford to make those mistakes.
Fair. I mean, I look at this. First of all, whatever pick they have in the first round, I don't trust Bill Belichick to take a quarterback because for whatever reason, he just always seems to buck the trend, and most of the time it works, but not in the draft. And even if he does decide to take a quarterback, obviously he's not getting Justin Fields or Trevor Lawrence. And I look at it, and you got Zach Wilson out of BYU. You got another North Dakota State quarterback. I forget his name, but he's projected to go pretty high, kind of the heir to Carson Wentz at North Dakota State. I mean, you're not drafting a guy, even if they, like I said, if they don't get 1 or 2 or maybe even 3, you're not drafting a guy that's literally going to plug and play. So whoever you're reading might be right. They may draft a guy if Bill Belichick decides to take a guy in the first round, but he's not going in. There's not 5 pro-ready quarterbacks like there were 3 years ago with Mayfield, Allen, et cetera, and that class. There's 2 guys, and unless Bill Belichick's shipping the farm, he ain't getting Lawrence or Fields. So I don't know where they're going. They obviously don't like Stidham, or he'd have had way more opportunities to succeed. So I don't know. Maybe they – okay, would you rather take Garoppolo back if he's available? Coming off this injury?
No, I wouldn't.
Shut up, Lions fan.
The guy that you're talking about is Trey Lance, and they're kind of comparing him to Andrew Luck at this point.
Well, I mean, I've watched one of his games. He plays pretty well. Again, it's Division II football, or FCS, whatever they're calling it now. I mean,
same
but
thing.
Again, he's not. I don't think he's plug and play. I was surprised when Carson Wentz was plug and play, but anyways, I don't know. You just the reading or whoever you're talking about, whoever's posting that stuff, may not be as far off base as people might think. I don't know. He may be a bridge to the future, Cam Newton. I don't know. We'll see. They need a lot more than obviously just a quarterback. So.
Yeah.
All right. Giants at Bengals. Obviously, the big news, we have no Joe Burrow in this game. His season is over at this point. He tore a few thousand ligaments in his knee last week. Apparently, he tore MCL, ACL, and has further structural damage. One doctor who didn't actually have access to it says that this is an injury similar to kind of the Teddy Bridgewater situation that kept him out for 2 years. So, I don't know. We'll see on that one. But the here and now, we got the Giants at Cincinnati. Giants, a 6-point road favorite. Total is 44 in this one. We get Ryan Finley versus Daniel Jones. Not an exciting matchup. I'll give you that, Spike. But I will say this. The exciting part about this game, Token, is that the Giants are now back in the division race.
Definitely interesting in the NFC least division.
Mm-hmm. No, that's the best division, right?
That's what Spike was saying.
It's the best.
No, I was not.
He just said it's not the worst.
You said NFC West was the worst.
I said the NFC West was the worst. I did not say the NFC East was
true.
like, what'd you say, the most competitive or the best division? Fuck off with that.
It's the most competitive in terms of just awfully average football play.
All right, so
from top to bottom, it's tight.
How many wins is it going to take to win this division? Is it 7? Are we going to see another sub 500?
It might be 7. It might be 8
this year.
I think we did this on the week you weren't here. I think it was me and the Tonys, and I think Tony Johnson picked Philadelphia at 9-6-1. I don't remember
9 wins. Okay,
picked, but I
picked Philly at 7-8-1.
And I think I picked Washington at 8-8.
I think that's what you said.
And all of those could happen at this point.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know. The 2 craziest things that stand out to me when I was doing some research here. Again, the Giants are back in the hunt for the division with a win. They're tied for first at this point with a win against Cincinnati. And the Giants, who have won 3 in a row, have had their first 3-game winning streak since 2016. Talk about mediocrity, Token.
That sounds like a Lions stat almost.
Let me tell you this, Token. All of that stuff all points toward the Giants, but at the same time, at the end of the day, as a sports bettor, how confident would you feel laying 6 on the road with an average to below average football team?
As well as quarterback. I mean, the guy can barely even hold possession.
Yeah, actually, he's been relatively turnover-free the last few games, though. I mean, obviously, that's contributing to the winning.
Some streaks got to end at some time, especially out of Daniel Jones. So
I'm just saying, this game feels super trappy, Spike. I mean, the road team, a below-average road team. I don't care if Cincinnati's still an NFL team.
Mm-hmm.
Laying 6, I would not feel comfortable with this.
Right. So I don't know if either of you have the Google sheet, shared spreadsheet where we're tracking all this open in front of you. But if you did, you would have noticed that I quickly deleted that game off the slate because I misread that and thought the Giants were the 6-point underdog. So I was like, oh, yeah, let me get the Giants plus the 6.
Oh, I'd be all over that. Absolutely.
So I was like, hell yeah, give me the. So I have quickly changed that pick because you are absolutely correct. You can't feel confident even with as well as the Giants are playing, you can't feel good about having a Daniel Jones with a 6-point spread in front of you. Actually, for our contest, that would be 6.5.
That's even worse.
Yeah, you can't feel like that's going to be a spot where the Giants can make that. So, but this is, like you said, a Giants team that does seem to be improving and steadily improving throughout the weeks. They're going to be very interesting to watch next year. They obviously don't have enough to do it this year. But Jones is coming into his own. I think this is a kid that's finally getting the hang of the NFL, and better late than never. And I'm interested to see if this is the guy that they can build a team around and start winning games with him, like long term. And this isn't just a fluke like a Derek Anderson in Cleveland, that 1-year wonder that we saw out of him.
Well, Spike, I don't want to trigger you, but if the Giants went out, they're 9-7, and I do believe they've won a Super Bowl when they went 9-7.
And as painful as that was a very profitable game for me because they were very big underdogs to the Patriots, and I had a lot on the Giants' money line as that happiness edge.
Fair enough.
So.
All right, speaking of a non-happiness edge, Cleveland and Jacksonville, I can say confidently the three of us will probably not be watching this game.
Bark.
At this point. Cleveland, a 7-point road favorite in Jacksonville. Total is 49.5. Cleveland's had a lot of COVID this week. Myles Garrett missing a second straight game now with COVID. They have practiced once this week, and they're going down to face a Jaguar team that, although they are 1-9, losers of 9 straight, they seem to play competitive, minus last week against the Steelers. This week, we get another quarterback for Jacksonville. I mean, they're just rotating them all around. We get Mike Glennon, also known as Napoleon Dynamite. He, of his career 6-16 record with the Bucs, Arizona Cardinals, and Chicago Bears. He is a veteran, so he's going to have the most experience of any guy on the team. But I will tell you this, I'm not going to be watching this one.
Which quarterback's better out of the two, Baker or Glennon?
Oh, Baker, 100%.
I would say so, but not by much. I still think Baker's overrated in this, and this game, just move on to the next.
Theoretically, I do actually have a play on the total on this game, but yeah, I think, Aaron, you were saying that this is not an interesting game or one that is going to be worth watching for the multitude of fans out there. I mean, this is a who cares game with one team that maybe is okay in Cleveland and a Jacksonville team that if the New York Jets didn't exist, then Jacksonville would be talked about as the worst team in the NFL right now. So, yeah, not one that I think too many people are going to care about.
Yep, I agree with you. And to be fair to Baker Mayfield, he's having a statistically down season, but you know what? He's being relied on a lot less. I mean, there's a two-headed monster there named Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb that if they're going to have Super Bowl aspirations, it runs on those two guys. All it takes for Baker Mayfield is to be the Alex Smith and not turn over the football, I think so. Baker Mayfield's not a franchise, altering, leads you to Super Bowls, but he may be that, we might be there and I won't fuck it up for you. So if he can learn to get that, Cleveland may have something in the bag here for the next few years with that three-headed Baker Mayfield, Kareem Hunt, and Nick Chubb, although I'm sure Kareem Hunt's going to want to get paid here real soon. All right, Carolina at Minnesota. Minnesota coming off of an embarrassing loss. I texted Tony Johnson, me and him. I thought Minnesota was going to be 7-5 heading to that Tampa Bay game. They took a step back. They basically, at this point, in my opinion, they are a 3-point favorite against Carolina here, total 51. I think they have to win out to get into the playoffs. They're currently 4-6 at this point. So that's kind of a big hit. Teddy Bridgewater is likely going to play in this game against his old team that let him go in favor of Sam Bradford. I'm sure there's still some ill will on that one since that obviously didn't work out for Minnesota. But at this point, it's a shame that, honestly, in my opinion, I like both of these teams. It's really a shame for me that one of them has to lose because I think effectively – I know that the Panthers are 4-7 and they really can't afford to lose anymore. And I know they're done with Christian McCaffrey pretty much for the year, but I kind of hate seeing one of these two teams lose at this point. And unfortunately, one of them's going to have to. And I think it has to be the Panthers because I'm still rooting to cash somehow by a miracle to cash that Minnesota ticket.
there's a way that they both don't have to lose, but
Oh,
it ain't gonna happen in this game this week. So, I mean,
COVID.
what? Well, that too. What could be a potential matchups for two great running backs to go at it, but McCaffrey being out, Mike Davis is still a good fit for Carolina too.
Sure, but he doesn't move the needle like Christian McCaffrey does. I
No.
mean, the guy has literally like 100 fantasy points, and he's played like 3 games. It's
Mhm.
crazy. I mean, he's the blood, he's the straw that stirs the drink for Carolina. It's really unfortunate that we didn't get to see a lot of him this year. But I don't know, Spike. To me, this one it's not sexy, but I think this game really, at least for Minnesota, this is if they have to win this game, and they have to win the rest of them.
Well, yeah, they have to win out. The question is going to be, was that win last week? Was that last week where they had that kind of upset win? What am I thinking of? Oh no, the upset loss to the Cowboys.
Mm-hmm.
You have to wonder if they hadn't had that loss, is Minnesota a bigger favorite here? Probably, maybe, if people are paying that much attention to it. I don't know. I don't know that these are two teams that you can put a whole lot of stock in one way or the other. They're both 4-7 versus 4-6, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't like this, especially with now they're saying Adam Thielen being out for the game. I don't know that Minnesota has the weapons, even with him in, to win this game. And you're right, it's a shame because this is, it's an NFC North that looks down this year, especially with Green Bay for, their record aside, has looked pretty shaky this year. And I know that Tony Johnson said that Minnesota Vikings were the best team in the NFC going into this season. So seeing them sitting at 4-6 with a dangerous matchup in front of them here in Carolina is not what we wanted to see out of the Vikings, but I think that's just where we're at this year.
Yep, I rode that train. I didn't say the NFC, but I rode that train to the division. I think it's highly unlikely they can still win the division. But hey, 10-6, you never know. They might have a chance. They
Still
got
a chance.
They got to win them all. All right, in my opinion, this next game is the best game on the slate here for the early games here. It's Tennessee at Indianapolis. Big AFC. Not only AFC South division battle, it's a big AFC division battle. At this point, the two teams coming in are both 7-3. Indianapolis is a 3-point favorite after that crazy win against Green Bay last week. Tennessee coming off a good win in overtime as well against Baltimore. Derrick Henry is just a beast. I stand corrected. I am not worthy at this point. I said the wheels would fall off with him, and I was completely wrong about that. I'm totally okay to admit that. Total in this one is 52. Again, the reason I say this is a huge game is because the loser of this game, barring a tie, thanks Token, takes a giant step back in playoff position. The winner of this game goes to 8-3. The loser of this game goes to 7-4. And again, like I talked about with the Raiders beat Atlanta. They're 7-4 at that point. If Cleveland beats Jacksonville, they're 7-4 at that point. So the situation that arises here, Miami also, we'll talk about them against the Jets. We expect them to win that game. They'll be 7-4. So the loser falls back into this big old clump of nasty wild cards and having to figure out tiebreakers and everything. The winner is going to be sitting real pretty. And if it's Indianapolis, they're going to be sitting very pretty because they're going to be 8-3 with a game up on Tennessee after beating them twice here this year. So again, that's why I think this is a big matchup, the biggest matchup, the marquee matchup in the early position here. And the marquee matchup in this game is Derrick Henry, the aforementioned, against a Colts defense who is second in the NFL in rushing yards, only giving up 88.2 yards a game. I think that's the big matchup. If the Colts want to win, it's containing Derrick Henry, Token, but that's easier said than done.
You're very right about that. And I mean, the Indeed front four is very strong, but it's the offensive line that they got to contain with Henry as well as, I mean, he can find a hole and just maneuver through it and get to the secondary very quick and efficiently. So it's going to be interesting how Indy kind of manipulates the game plan and probably brings in some safeties out of the secondary to kind of contain Henry.
I mean, if you're going to do anything, I think that front seven will probably be able to do it on their own. But if they have to bring guys down to stop Henry, Tannehill Spike is probably capable enough to maybe win this game on his own.
Well, potentially, but I think if he is, they're going to have to do it early. I think I saw a stat that said in the last 2 games, Indianapolis has outscored opponents in the second half 41-3. So if Indianapolis has that lead going into halftime, then Tennessee is going to have a hell of a hill to climb, especially if they can't rely on Derrick Henry as much if they have to go to the air. So, yeah, Tannehill, he has shown that he has the arm, that he has the leadership, that he doesn't make the mistakes that can cost a team games. I just don't know if that Indianapolis defense is going to be such, so stodgy or so cheap in the second half that that's going to be, I think, too much for them to climb out of. So I would say to those of you listening out there, I'm not touching this game pregame, but I am definitely looking at those halftime lines to see what they look at for Tennessee and Indianapolis, because I think that is going to be where the money can be made, especially with if Tennessee has the lead at the half and you can get Indianapolis at plus money. I think that's the way to go.
Yeah, fair enough. Spike, let me ask you a question. Do you think either of these teams are legit Super Bowl contenders, regardless of their record right now?
No, I think these are both high caliber playoff teams. I just think that between Kansas City and Pittsburgh, that neither of these teams can get through those teams. So I think either Kansas City or Pittsburgh represents the AFC in the Super Bowl, which is probably not going out on a limb given how they've played in their records right now.
Yeah, they're combined 19-1. Oof.
Yeah, it's just I don't see these two teams beating either of them.
That's fair. All right, another game here on the 10 a.m. slate Pacific time. LA Chargers traveling west to east, heading to Buffalo, coming off a bye, coming off a heartbreaking Hail Mary loss to the Arizona Cardinals. Buffalo, a 4.5-point favorite. Total in this one is 52.5. I haven't checked the weather, but I don't anticipate it's going to be good for an LA team. I tell you that. I'm kind of sad. I'll foreshadow a little bit. I left this one off, but now that I'm actually thinking about it, I wanted to put it back on, but picks are locked. I think Buffalo is just going to destroy LA this week.
I mean, like you said, a West team going east, they tend to struggle, and in the cooler weather of Buffalo, it's a lot different from LA. So,
well, not only that, I mean, Buffalo losing that last second game, that could matter coming down the line. In Week 17, Spike, they play Miami, so if that game might matter in the sense of they had it for 59 minutes and 58 seconds.
Sure.
I mean, games like that, and then you stew on it for 2 weeks, and all you want to do is get back out on the field. I don't know. I think the Chargers and Justin Herbert are in trouble, although they can definitely air it out. So, I mean, I don't count them out this game. I just feel like Buffalo might be a 3-touchdown winner here.
Yeah, and both of these teams can air it out, but I think Buffalo wins on experience because they've done it a lot more and a lot more consistently for a lot longer. To answer your question about the weather, it doesn't look like it should be a factor in this game. They're saying about 50 degrees on Sunday, winds about 15 to 20 miles an hour, so nothing that should really have a major impact on this one. But, I still think it's that West team traveling east is going to be a problem. I think that, Buffalo has the ability. They have the weapons. It's a rough matchup for a Chargers team that I think has been a lot more exciting than people expected them to be this year because they've been in games that they shouldn't have.
That's right, yeah. They definitely are exciting. I'll give you that. Unfortunately, It's not translating to W's. And I've all but ripped up all of my Chargers props at this point, which is okay. I just like watching them play at this point.
I didn't realize you had any Chargers props.
I had Anthony Lynn for Coach of the Year, and I had the Chargers to win the AFC West, which was obviously a dream. But I figured if the Chargers could turn around 3 or 4 of those late losses, I mean, they'd be 7-3, 8-2, something like that. And I figured if they're 8-2, or if they finish the season, 10-6, I feel like Anthony Lynn at 45-1 could have won Coach of the Year at that point. So, anyways, it's all good. They're going to get destroyed this week. Mark it or forget it. All right. I will say this, though. That line does feel a little trappy. I feel like it should be bigger. But it started off at 7. So, all right, Miami and the Jets. I don't have much to say other than Tua is back in, fresh off of an injury and benching last week. Brian Flores, I was a little shocked by the benching, but Brian Flores said Tua handled it well, and that they're just going to keep going forward because they've got a division to win. The line currently is Miami minus 6.5 on the road against the 0-4 ever Jets. At this point, I feel like they're going to try to tank for the next 2 first-round number 1 picks at this point. 44.5 is the total. I got not much to say on this one, Tony.
I mean, we could have a first in NFL history this year. The 0-16 Jets and the 16-0 Pittsburgh Steelers. If that happens, it would be the first time there'd be a winless and a loseless team in the same season.
You mean an undefeated team?
Yeah.
Even lossless makes more sense there.
Whatever.
All right. Yeah, I aside from division implications in this game, I don't see any reason to dwell on this one. So, yeah.
Well, you're right. It might be a loseless team, but I could care less. So we'll move on to the afternoon slate here. A couple of good ones. I think the afternoon slate's going to have a lot of eyeballs. I think we got 3 good games here, starting with, I think, the third of 3 good games. San Francisco and the Rams. The Rams are 6.5-point favorites at home against, again, I say this every week, whatever's left of the San Francisco 49ers. Kittle out, Deebo Samuel out, Garoppolo out, Brandon Ayuk trying to get back as some kind of weapon for Nick Mullins. But, again, a month ago, San Francisco beat L.A. By 8 points. This is a completely different 49er team than the one that won a month ago. And fun fact, Token, the Rams are currently undefeated at their new stadium.
Oh, I didn't even know that. Yeah, I mean, that's injury list for San Francisco just seems like they add a name or two almost every week now. And their season's shot to hell and all that. Rams, I mean, it's a divisional game for San Francisco. They might try and keep it close. We'll see what happens.
I don't want to gloat here, Spike, and obviously there's a lot of football to be played, but I said the Rams would win the division this year.
Yeah, maybe you did. I don't know. I don't pay attention to half of what you say, so sure. Nick Mullins hasn't looked bad in relief of Garoppolo, but he certainly hasn't looked great. And I mean, this is not a team going in the right direction. So, that the line at 6.5, feels like something the Rams could cover, especially with the way that defense is playing. You would expect a defensive touchdown at least from them in this game, given that Mullins is about a 1-to-1 ratio touchdown to interception. I expect one of those to go for a pick 6, and it's just I think this is going to be ugly. I actually don't have a play on this one, but I'm looking at it very carefully because I think this is one that is going to be a bloodbath. And I wrote off the Rams defense a couple of weeks ago, and I am regretting that ever since. They keep proving that they have the ability to not only shut down offenses, but they can win games on the back of that defense now.
All right, New Orleans at Denver, the second of the 3 interesting games here in the afternoon slate. The interesting thing here is Taysom Hill going back to that side of the country. Remember, he was from BYU. He's getting his second start here at this point. The passing was okay, threw for 200 and change yards, ran for 2 touchdowns. I don't think he's going to be able to do that same thing against Denver's defense. He's definitely going to be able to run as much as he did against Atlanta last week. So it's really going to be a how well can Taysom Hill throw the ball show at this point. New Orleans 6-point favorites on the road against Denver, total 42.5 in this spot. Saints, again, seeking their 8th straight win after starting 1-2 this year. The big thing really on the other side of the ball is Drew Lock at this point. I think he's basically auditioning for a job and basically auditioning to figure out where the Denver Broncos are going to go in the offseason. He's not doing himself any favors really this year. He threw an interception on his first pass last week, was 0 for 9 before he even completed a pass to a guy in his jersey last week. So, you know, his big thing right now is starting fast because he's just not doing that lately. And this one is hard to handicap because, again, Taysom Hill, regardless of what happened last week, I still every week don't know what I should expect out of him, though.
Yeah, I mean, and especially with a little more footage on Hill and how he can handle offenses, Denver's going to look kind of slow him down and slow down this offense. But it's going to be hard for Denver to put up points against the New Orleans defense, how they have been performing as of late. And it's not a shabby one to watch, in my opinion. So,
yeah, like I said, I think out of the 3 afternoon games, this is the second most interesting. Obviously, we'll get to the big game in the afternoon slate here, just coming up here shortly. But Spike, let me ask you a question. Objectively, everything you've seen footage over both of their careers right now, if you were Sean Payton, do you think Taysom Hill gives them a better chance to win than Jameis Winston does? That's not easy. I know it's not.
It really isn't. I thought you were going to say Taysom Hill or Drew Brees, and I was like,
Well, I mean,
yeah,
what kind of asinine question is that? But between Hill and
we're looking at least 3 more games of no Drew Brees.
Right. I think this isn't necessarily about win now, or at least they're not putting the quarterbacks in a position to lose. And like I just said about the Rams with their defense, how good they are, given that the Saints sacked Matt Ryan, 8 times last week, I think that this is more about get somebody in there who doesn't make mistakes to win the game this week. And I think that Jameis Winston's history of interceptions is probably too much to bear for Sean Payton right now. So he's going to go with the more conservative route. And, maybe that's for better or for worse. This is actually a game that was the first that I was going to pick because I thought, Denver +6, Taysom Hill, he doesn't have the experience. He's going into, terrible weather. He's going into a terrible stadium, blah, blah, blah. I instantly picked Denver. But then the more I thought about it, I thought about the New Orleans defense. I thought about the Taysom Hill didn't look that bad. I checked the weather. It's not going to be a factor. I don't trust Drew Lock. So this is a game that I ended up scratching off of my list because I don't know what to make of it. And I think that, Aaron, you got it when you said that this is an interesting game. It really is. And I think that line with New Orleans -6 in our contest 6.5, I think that's right on the money, which is why I had to get off of it because it's just it's not to keep going back to this phrase, but it could really go either way. And I don't like games that could go either way. I want games that I can feel confident in. And given the way that I fucked up last week, I shouldn't be thinking too hard about these games anyway. I should just, whatever I decide to do, pick the opposite of it and just move on with my life.
There you go. That's the plan. All right. Big money matchup here. Afternoon slate. We've got Kansas City going down to Tampa Bay here. Tampa Bay fresh off another primetime loss. Brady 0-4 in primetime games. So he's not looking so well. Although I would consider that Monday night win against the Giants a win. So I think he's actually a 1-3, not 0-4. But, I mean, it's the Giants, so let's not get crazy here. Kansas City on the road, 3.5-point favorite, even money in that bet. Total 56 in this spot. The thing that kind of jumped out at me is, obviously the Kansas City is 9-1. They're able to obviously score at will. Last week they didn't face a defense that was, 1, fully healthy, and 2, that wasn't very good. I think Tampa Bay's defense has an interesting job here this week, and that's really to probably hold Mahomes and company to 28 points at this point. I think Tom Brady's going to have to get back off the schneid and kind of play the game plan that they used against Green Bay when they were able to kind of blow their doors off. I expect that Tampa Bay, if they want to win this game, they need at least 31 points. And they can get that because Kansas City's defense actually this year, if they can get to the red zone, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Kansas City's defense is allowing touchdowns in the red zone at an 80% clip. So if this game can go back and forth down the field, I think Tampa Bay's got a real good shot at actually handing Kansas City their second loss here this week.
Yeah, I mean, of course, this is the matchup to watch for
Everyone.
Yeah, it's going to be how these defensive can contain each other on the offensive side of balls. The one thing that kind of stands out to me is tight ends. How are the defenses are going to be able to cope with these tight ends on both sides of the ball? I mean, you got Tampa Bay with Gronk, of course, and you got Kansas City with Kelsey, probably the best tight end of the year so far. It's going to be a challenge for these defenses.
Yeah, and I think Tampa Bay's challenge isn't necessarily containing the Kansas City offense. Tampa Bay's challenge is Brady and that offense staying on the field so that their defense can rest, because this Kansas City team, like Aaron said, can put up points at will almost. And I think that what that's going to mean is a change in the offensive game plan. I just saw a stat that said that Brady is like 0 for 20 for his last 20 attempts over 20 yards. And it's just, he can't do that. So I think the dink and dunk, the play action, the running game, and, keeping the ball in a spot where he's not prone to make mistakes is the way that Tampa Bay uses the clock, keeps the defense rested, and keeps themselves in this game, because once they get into the red zone, then they can do the damage there, but they can't go for those 40-50 yard bombs. It's just not working for Tampa Bay this year.
I would agree with that. And like you said, I think when they finally do get in the end zone, they have to get 7, not 3.
Yes,
because you know what, even if you keep Kansas City off the field as much as you can, they're still going to get at least 6 drives in this game, and I don't see how, a way that they don't get at least 3 to 4 touchdowns. Doesn't matter how long their drives are, because they can get them in. They're like the Oregon of the NFL at this point. All right, let's move on to Sunday Night Football, Chicago and Green Bay. And I don't know about you boys, but I am excited. You know why? Because we get the return of future Hall of Famer Mitch Trubisky.
Oh, I thought you said Cutler is coming back.
No. Even better, Mitchell Trubisky. We get Mitch Trubisky, and we get 9.5 points against the Green Bay Packers. Oh, man, that's like Christmas morning. That's like Black Friday shopping right there, boys. Mitch Trubisky and the Chicago Bears going into Lambeau, Sunday Night Football. Aaron Rodgers takes a 9.5-point favorite, total 44.5 in this game. I am super excited because I think Trubisky got the raw deal, and I think he's going to prove everyone wrong and cover that spread.
Screw this game. Just toss it out.
What are you talking about? This is a huge matchup, man.
I can understand Token's reluctance to talk about this, given that, as mediocre as these two teams have looked, they still look better than the Lions this year. But I think one of the things I think one of the things that's going to be interesting is that this is going to be the first time that Trubisky starts a game where Nagy is not the play caller, or at least in the last year and a half or whatever it is. Because Nagy didn't give up those duties until, what was it, last week, 2 weeks ago, and by then Foles was starting. So I think how Trubisky and who's actually calling the plays, I forget the guy's name now.
Bill Lazor.
There you go. I think the chemistry between those two, and if Trubisky is able to read the defense and, get those plays out, I think that plus 9.5, I mean, that's a huge line. So I know that Aaron loves those nearly double-digit lines. Mitch Trubisky is the Lord and Savior, apparently. I didn't realize that was going to be a possibility, but, here we are. And, yeah, could be an interesting one. Green Bay is Green Bay. We know what Green Bay does. So,
you boys want to know a secret?
Oh, God.
I'm sure we're going to find out anyhow. So,
biggest dog of the week, Chicago Bears.
There it is.
Bears.
And now they get their quarterback back. It's like a Chris Mitch miracle. Let's move on to Seattle and Philadelphia. Monday Night Football.
Yes.
Yes, Spike banged his head on his desk. It's a Chris Mitch miracle. All right, Monday Night Football, Seattle and Philadelphia. Seattle road favorite of 5.5, total 49 in this one. Fun fact, Seattle has played 3 times in Philadelphia in the last calendar year, and they have won all of them. So I expect that trend to probably continue. The other fun fact here, Token, we are going to get Chris Carson back for the Seattle Seahawks. We're going to get Zach Ertz back for the Philadelphia Eagles. Whoa. That was not the fun fact, though. The fun fact here, did you know that both of these teams, ironically, with vastly different records, are both in second place in their respective divisions? Philadelphia at 3-6-1, and obviously Seattle at 7-3. So, but that's the way the cookie crumbles sometimes.
Is Gritty going to be there as the mascot?
Gritty and the Fanatic, they might be there.
Screw this game. Screw the Eagles. This game needs to end in a tie.
There you go.
God, Philadelphia ending the season with 2 ties. That would just be ridiculous.
Be a Christmas miracle.
Chris Mitch.
You know, I think I was ragging on Wentz before with his turnovers, and now I'm looking at a stat that says he's been sacked 40 times. He is 3rd worst in the NFL in quarterback rating. I don't know what they do. I mean, does Wentz get benched in this game? Is this a game where we see that he gets pulled? I mean,
can you name the backup quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles?
Jalen Hurts.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about him.
There you go.
Ooh, that might be interesting. Although Peterson has kind of already given him like the ultimate vote of confidence, but you never know. I don't know. I think Peterson's not coaching for his job at this point, but I think as long as they stay in contention, I think they're going to go with Wentz. I don't know.
I don't understand. I mean,
Contention good enough.
like he was never. I mean, he had that good season. What was that? 2017 when he got hurt by the end of the year. But prior to that, people were talking about him as an MVP candidate.
I believe so.
But he hasn't looked great since then, and this has been the worst season of his career. I mean, this is a bad team anyway, so I don't know what they do to help him to try to turn it around. But the team has to do something. This is a winnable division. Like, the team has to do something better than just sit at mediocrity and be content with it. And this is not a game that's probably winnable with their current formulas. So they have to
won the division at 9-7 last year. So this isn't like, uncharted territory. The Dallas Cowboys won it at, I think, 9-7 the year before and 10-6. But I mean, as long as they're in contention, I mean, like I said, you just said, is contention good enough, dude? If they go 6-10 and win the NFC East, that banner hangs the same. There's no asterisk on it.
Be the worst team that won, or the worst record that won a division, though.
Yeah, I mean, they can't go 6-10, but you get what I'm saying. 6-9-1, whatever hangs a banner. I mean, they're gonna.
It'd still be the worst record that won a division. So.
Oh, for sure, absolutely. I think 7-8-1.
7-9.
No, there was a 7-8-1
winner. 7-8-1.
7-8-1, but Seattle won at one time at 7-9.
I understand that. I'm just saying the worst one is. Oh, I guess 7-9 would be worse. I guess
7-9 is worse. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. See how much ties suck, Token? We already count them as worse than losses.
Yeah.
Ties are people too.
No, they're not. They
literally are not.
They're really not people. No ties matter. All right. Speaking of all of Token shenanigans, it is time to give us your DFS play as we've wrapped up the slate in Week 12. Now you got to give us the individual players that are going to lead us to some money here, my friend.
Oh, it's going to be a fun-filled weekend, this one. I'm going to start out with the quarterback, as always, $50K starting out salary. We're starting out with Matt Ryan. He's got a lot of weapons on offense against this kind of overrated Las Vegas Raiders defense. And for $5,900, I'd say that's a steal. We got Josh Jacobs for the running back for Las Vegas for 7,200. I think against this Atlanta front defense that he'll actually have a decent week. Kareem Hunt will be due to have a bigger week than Nick Chubb for 5,600. I saw the value in that. Moving on, we got Cooper Kupp for the Rams for 6,400. I actually think he might be the leading receiver for the Sunday games. We got Ruggs, should have a decent week as well for 4,300. And then moving on, we got DeAndre Hopkins for 8,100, blowing the wad on that one. Tight end, we got Jasicki for Miami for 4,300. In the flex position, we got Breida, Miami wide receiver for 4K. And then the Dolphins D against the 0-16 Jets.
There you go. All right, wrap it up here with a 14-point teaser. I took an L last week. Unfortunately, Joey Burrow going down. That game I had over 32.5, finished with 29 points. I think with Joe Burrow, I get that there. But unfortunately, that's an L after 6 straight wins. So I'm 6-3 on the year. We're going to get back to what we do best, straight spreads here at this point. We're going to start off with the Buffalo Bills, move them to plus 9.5. I am going to take a home dog in the Atlanta Falcons and move them to plus 17. I am going to take a road dog and move them to plus 17 as well, that being the Tennessee Titans. I'll take them plus 17. And I will move a road favorite across the zero, which is always dangerous, but I really feel like Jacksonville stinks to high heavens. I'll take Cleveland plus 7 points in that game. I think despite the lack of practice and everything, that two-headed monster, Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, will get it done there for the Cleveland Cavaliers. No, just kidding, the Browns. All right, that is, since Token gets to do a DFS and I get to do a teaser, why don't you just give us a bold prediction for Week 12, Spike?
And the picks?
Yeah,
I
well,
want to hear a bold prediction.
bold prediction is.
I forgot the picks. You're right.
Yeah, you did forget the picks, which I thought you were just saving until the absolute very end. But
I will now at this point.
yeah, okay, good. I will say, and thank you for giving me a little bit more time to try to think of a bold prediction. I'll say Derrick Henry. You said the Colts are averaging what, 85 yards a game rushing?
88.2. Second.
88.2. I say Derrick Henry doubles that in this game. That's my bold prediction.
76.
That's pretty bold. I like that.
All right, fair enough. All right, well, we're not wrapping up the show because we got picks.
We have to do picks.
Kind of the point of this episode and all episodes that are related to the NFL. So, all right, well, since Token, you were in first, we'll get all of the fade material out of the way so they can wait for my picks.
Fair enough. Starting out week 12, we got Tennessee plus the 2.5. I think Tennessee wins this game. Henry rushes for a whole bunch. Maybe not quite 176, but a decent amount. We got New Orleans moving it to minus 6.5. I think they're just below the doors against Denver in this one. We got the under 43.5 Giants in Cincinnati. I actually did some picks earlier in the week. This one was at 42.5. I'll take the extra point. It won't even come close. Jones maybe puts up 10 points. Bengals maybe put up about another 10. So it's not even going to come close to this.
Way to go.
Yeah. We got Arizona pretty much just need to win the game, but laying the 1.5. It could end Arizona winning by 1, but very unlikely.
Yes, that is.
And then Miami against the Schwetz Jets. They're going to get their doors handed to them. Miami's going to win this one in a laugher, laying the 6.5. Laying the 6.5 in that one.
All right, Spike, you're in second place here. Let's hear that 0-5 slate.
Well, if it's 0-5, then Token at best can go 4-1 because I'm starting by agreeing with him on the Arizona-New England game. taking the Cardinals minus the 1.5. This is a game where New England's offense can stall and stall mightily. So I think that one's one where they're going to leave points on the board and Arizona picks it up. I'm taking the Panthers plus the 2.5 against Minnesota. The game that I originally had the Giants at plus 6.5, which I thought was the actual line. When I realized that was 12 points off the what it should have been, I switched it to take the Christmas miracle and give me Trubisky at plus 9.5 against the Green Bay Packers. And then my last two picks are two totals, both going under 52.5 in Vegas versus Atlanta, under 49.5 Cleveland and Jacksonville.
All right, keep the trend going there with Tony Johnson's picks.
Tony Johnson is taking the other side of that Arizona game versus me and Token, taking the Patriots plus the 1.5. He has the other side of the Cleveland-Jacksonville total for me going over 49.5. He has under 51.5 in Tennessee and in Indianapolis. He has over 42.5 in New Orleans at Denver. Actually, I think that's probably a pretty good pick, especially if the weather is not going to be a factor in that one. And then he has Tom Brady plus 3.5 against Kansas City, which I'm assuming that means he thinks that Tampa Bay is going into fuck you mode. But without him being here, I'm really curious as to how he got to that number.
Well, I'll speak on behalf of him. I think Tampa Bay gets the win in that game. So,
all
right, and bringing up the rear, hopefully not. Unfortunately, I can't go 5-0 because you and I are on one of the totals. So if that loses, then I will not be 5-0. But I don't want you to win any of them, so I guess I'll go settle for 4-1.
Okay, fair enough.
I am with Jacksonville plus 6.5 against Cleveland. I am taking the Rams minus 6.5 against San Francisco. I am taking the under in that Tampa Bay-Kansas City game. Despite all of the contrary notion I said, I think that Tampa Bay's defense might be suffocating to Kansas City. I'll take the under 55.5. I'll take the Christmas miracle, Chicago plus 9.5 at Green Bay. And I am taking the Monday Night Magic. Somehow Carson Wentz and the boys get it done. No, not win. Just cover 5.5 against the Seattle Seahawks. So that's going to be the picks there. What do you say?
I actually like the Eagles this week for some crazy reason. I actually think the play is them on the money line.
Oh, that would be 2020 for you. But you know what? Seattle's been kind of rumbling and stumbling. I don't know. With Carson coming back in that game, I don't see the money line. But I think they can keep this a close game because Seattle seems to tend to really kind of play down to people this year so far. So, anyways, we'll see. I'll see how that happens. So. Hope you have had a safe and happy Thanksgiving. Hopefully your picks go well. Obviously, if you tail us, we hope they go well. If you fade us, obviously, we hope they don't. But that
unless if you fade Spike.
Well, I hope you know. Well, if you fade Spike and he's right, then it'll be bad for you. But I hope you do fade Spike and he's wrong because that will be good for all of us. And for Spike, for Token Tony, and the ghost of Tony Johnson, I am Aaron. We appreciate you listening. Good luck on your bets, and we'll see you on the next one.